Hey guys, it's Mr. Dominari here, otherwise known as from my real name, Reid Robinson, and I directed and mostly wrote the Kentarch 3. I'm also responsible for putting the project together, this little short animation and film. And I'm going to be doing a little director's commentary on it. I've wanted to do it for a good little bit, and before the film was even finished, I thought about doing it because there was a lot of, believe it or not, there was a lot of thought and love put into a lot of this. And I know I'm probably not going to cover everything I want to cover or congratulate everyone I want to congratulate. I did want to at least try to get this out in some way or form. I guess to begin, the Kentarch 3 was a pretty long project. If you go back on the channel, or anyone who has been following the progress of it, it wasn't supposed to take 2.5 years, but it took 2.5 years. That's because it just takes a while to get things organized and to make, I guess, or animate a little short film here, even though it's only like 30 minutes long. I did put a lot of work into it. Yep, there's my other writer there, but I did put a lot of work on it. This intro was the first thing that was ever made in there. I guess like the hardest part though was sound mixing for me. I guess the only thing I did super duper research, I guess, what to do with sound design. I was way too busy trying to learn animation here. That ship crashing scene wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought that was going to be the worst scene for me to animate, but it wasn't. It was pretty cool. I liked it a lot. In fact, I don't think I disliked animating any of this.
Barely. Look, I did what I could with what I had. I mean, it got us here. That's really what matters.
I do like my cast, sorry. I'm really proud of the cast we went and had.
I'm not getting a signal down here. I need to contact the order.
We have the lovely Anna McClow and Brandon Bond.
Yardarm. And they're not a cult.
They both have really good voices for the characters I give them, and I really like Lisbon. I really like Lily's rendition of Lisbon.
Come on, guys. I'd hang out with you two for free.
I do like them a lot. The voice acting portion of the film took a good bit of work, although most of the voices that you're hearing are about 2 years old. Especially Brandon's and Lily's. Our Rekkana actually changed a good bit. Our Rekkana voice actor changed, I think, 2 or 3 different times. But I'm glad where we landed. I think Anna McClow is an amazing actress. I think she has a very, very unique voice. And it's one that we decided was really, really good for Rekkana. And I'll talk about it later, but there's an entire scene I had to cut out for Rekkana, but
They'll send a fire team after us.
I did. I really did love how she read her lines as Rekkana. Because Rekkana really was one of the harder characters, I suppose, to get a hold of what I wanted from them. And
Can? Not will?
yes, I don't know, I just couldn't find the character for Rekkana. And when Anna McClow did come along and read out the lines, I'm like, okay, you know what? I like that and I can work with that. You know? I didn't want to animate too many things without getting the voice lines in first, because I wanted to animate afterwards. Which some of it is hand animation, but a good bit of it is motion capture, and I spent a lot of time saving up money to get a motion capture suit. So almost every single time you see one of the characters moving in here, it's probably just me in a motion capture suit being stupid. One thing I did love hand animating was the ghosts, though. There's Lisbon's ghost right there. I meant to mention it earlier. I tried to have their own little personality in their animation. And I don't think it comes through as well as I wanted it to come through. But kind of wanted Lisbon's ghost to be, or Piri. I wanted Lisbon's ghost to be a little more curious. And I wanted Rekkana's ghost here to be a little more
I don't know that we'll
I
see each other
guess.
again.
Oriented towards the team. Sorry, I got distracted from our senior Sybil talking here, which also changed voice actors 2 times. Oh no, it changed once. Our senior Sybil changed once. Before we had an actress change voicing
Lisbon? When we find it,
both.
you should carry it.
I think
What, this object?
Piri
This divinity?
I can
and
think of
Sybil,
no
I
one
think
who
something else, but it
trust
might have
more
just been those
than
2.
you.
But we ended up splitting them up and changing the voice actors, just to
You don't
conflicting
trust her.
schedules.
I don't need to trust
I will say that won't be the last you'll see of senior Sybil, but
And that's enough?
that's the last you see of her in the Kentarch there. I really like this scene a lot. I played with the lighting in this one a good bit. Where there was just kind of blue lighting to match Lisbon's and the greener garden lighting to match Rekkana, I suppose.
Coming?
Yes.
So them standing and moving from one color to another,
That's strange, isn't it?
it was really nice. I think it blended off their armor really well. It made it look really, really nice. Again, one of the best parts was the animating the camera too. I liked all the shots I did for them. I like all my ghost shots. Like this one's really nice. I like this. I like the shot that we have
We shouldn't have even been able to pick up
of
the signal from Sybil.
We're here now. We have our mission.
Lisbon and Rekkana right here in a second. That one. I like this shot a lot, even though I screwed up the animation on a ghost going into a wall down the bottom left like a couple seconds ago. If you caught that. But I really like this shot a lot. I did try to get a lot of the lighting in the scene to be a little more symbolic of some things. Because like you won't really see the other, I guess, sun of the garden in this scene. Because it's an orange sun, and I kind of associate orange with Yardarm. And this isn't a scene with Yardarm. This is, their moment. This is Lisbon and Rekkana's. So I'm letting them have it, no Yardarm in sight, or anything like that. And when they finally
take
do
care of
mention Yardarm, they
myself.
mention leave the sun sets, and we get
Promise. After this all
and when that
ends,
sun sets, it's only one other sun up in the sky. It's the orange one. And we
Any
obviously
reality
transition to the Yardarm scene right after that.
Oh,
I like the little flower addition on
Guardians
Lisbon's
don't die,
armor.
Lisbon. You know
I thought that was really,
if not
I thought it was a cool thing to do. He only keeps it for this scene and one other, and then one right after this one. I was gonna keep it for the whole film, but then I was like, eh. When they get into the cave, they kind of just went through a big fight, and
We should get back to Yardarm.
I would think the flower would probably fall off. Yep, sun sets here, and we just have this one left in the sky before it turns nighttime. And little note is that sun from the beginning of this scene, that orange one, is moving the entire time. And you can barely see it, but you can tell that the shadows are moving a little bit as well, because the sun is just always moving. It's going to set by the end of the scene, which I'm sure a lot of people didn't notice. This Yardarm scene, actually, this one went through 3 different iterations of just how I animated and shot it, but I like where we landed. And it was actually one of the first scenes with characters that I did. So the first scene I really rendered out and recorded was the intro with the credits, but this was the first scene I actually worked on and finished. And I am really proud of where it came out. Brandon is an amazing voice actor. I loved him as our Yardarm. As soon as we got his voice lines in, we knew he needed to be the Titan. And I have to say, I love Yardarm's ghost. He brought a really good... I don't know, he brought... Zachary Braver, he brought a really good voice to the ghost, which... Yardarm's ghost, going back to the ghost personalities, Yardarm's ghost is a lot more curious as well, but when he's curious, he's also cautious. If you saw him, when you first see him in the first scene when they land in the garden, oh, sorry, my voice. When they land in the garden, the ghost is actually hiding a lot of that scene in Yardarm's armor. I like the idea of the ghost hiding in his, in the shoulder pads of Yardarm. And I like Yardarm's speech here as well. oh, the one he just finished about the ships, which comes back later in the short film when he talks about it, which I'll try to remember to reference.
Not a cult.
And Yardarm's ghost does reference Yardarm being pretty jealous, which it doesn't come off very obviously, but he is a little jealous of Lisbon and Rekkana's relationship. But it's quite alright. Rekkana mentions the clearing, which is something we never get to go to. We never get to go to the clearing because they're kind of funneled out of the Vex that they fight. In this next scene, they kind of get funneled into the cave, so they never even get to reach the clearing, which doesn't matter because the divinity wasn't over there anyway. The divinity was given to Lisbon. But the voices in the dark. This scene
They're an entirely different something powerful
was a weird one, I guess, to make. However, I liked.
To know what something could be.
I don't know. I like a good bit of it. And this is one of the scenes that we just wrote ourselves entirely. This one is all us. I like this little joke between Rekkana's ghost and Yardarm, because I like to think that they have a little thing going on, even though, you know, Yardarm's a little jealous of Lisbon and Rekkana. He has a little argumentative thing going on with her ghost all the time, which is nice. And I was going to expand on that more, but I felt it slowed the short film down a little bit more than it already is, a little bit slow.
That's a lot of power.
And
it's hard not to admire something.
Here comes Rekkana having her little moment, talking about how she wished she was an artist, which is a lot of Rekkana's, I guess, arc in the short film, is she doesn't really know. She doesn't know how to deal with not knowing, I guess. And one thing she doesn't know what to do is, what it is who she is. Rekkana doesn't know who she is. And she's supposed to be the person on the team that knows everything. So when she doesn't know something, she does break down, which it happens later in the film. This little planning scene is just another little moment to give a little subtle nod to Lisbon and Rekkana's little budding romance that they had going on. And I was going to actually animate the whole fight that happens right after, but I'm not that far into my animation skill, especially with where I wanted the film to release. I did not want to delay it again, so we just opted for this. And as well as how big that fight would have been, it kind of would have taken away with the more personal fight that happened later. This cave scene.
Yes, but it has given us perspective.
Up until now, I wrote about everything, but this cave scene, my other writer, Katherine, did have a hand in writing this one, which I liked. I think she did a really good job of capturing some of the panic here. Half of it, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, is actually just straight from the lore. It's just a scene pulled from the lore, but when the voices start talking to them, if I remember correctly, when the voices start talking to them,
I hear it.
I think a little bit of the lines was written by Katherine. By the way, I didn't write a lot of this scene. When they return to the cave, I write that, and I also write Lisbon's encounter with the dark. This is also symbolic, this entire cave scene with the lighting and these ghosts. Because as you've seen the film already, which I don't know why you haven't if you're watching the director's commentary, if you've seen it right here in a second, the ghosts kind of lose their light for a second and they fall. And it's kind of symbolic of how the ghosts meet their fate in a little bit. Because when Rekkana's falls, she tries to catch it and barely misses it. When Lisbon's falls right here, he actually does catch it, and he's the only one that ends up with his ghost alive by the end of the film. Yardarm doesn't even try. I played with some cinematic stuff too, like the camera going crooked every time the darkness talked, and they felt like they weren't safe. As well as these lights kind of went out in the order that these guys,
What could you possibly want to talk about?
I guess, kind of fell to the dark. It's not very obvious Rekkana's light because it was just behind them, but it went out in the order. It went out orange, then her like blue green or mint color, and then it went out to blue because they were he was the last one. This one, I don't know, I guess this was the hardest environment to build, even though it's the simplest one. Like there's just hardly anything in this environment, which is what I wanted. I just didn't know what form of nothing I wanted in here. And I originally had this scene have Lisbon with his bow, but I changed it to his rifle. And the scene was a little bit longer as well, but I cut it down some. The big giant scene that I cut with Rekkana was about twice as long as this scene. And Rekkana was monologuing to herself through the darkness. Voice, I guess. Or I guess Dark Rekkana was monologuing to normal Rekkana. And she kind of quoted a good bit of the she quoted a good bit of the Unveiling lorebook, if I remember correctly. Yeah, she quoted some of the Unveiling lorebook, and it was really well written, but especially with how, or the perspective that we were kind of following, which was Lisbon's perspective. Especially from here on out, we kind of just follow Lisbon. I didn't want to bog it down, especially since we just straight up never wrote a darkness encounter scene for Yardarm, because we didn't. At first we were just like, we don't need an encounter scene for Yardarm. Yardarm's not that big in it anyway. And I was like, well, neither is Rekkana. Rekkana's not some giant character as much as we're trying to make Lisbon. And so it'd feel weird. So we kind of like tried to even out what Rekkana was and what Yardarm was. And try to give them their own little moments to shine. And Rekkana's, at least to me, Rekkana's little moment to shine is her killing her ghost, as well as the talk on the cliff with Lisbon, or maybe even her breakdown at the end. But I feel like Yardarm's moment to shine was his personal scene with his ghost, along with him telling Rekkana it's going to be alright and they'll find their own way, which closes out his arc with the ship.
If I do this, promise me you can protect her from the Vex.
It's very telling that Lisbon does care for his team as well. I know I didn't talk about this scene a lot in this scene, but you saw the Dark Lisbon. As soon as he heard that Lisbon cared about the team, he took advantage of that instantly. He knew, if I could convince him that he could save Rekkana, then maybe we can get him. I played with audio a little bit leading up to this scene because I wanted it to feel dark, but they were able to convince Lisbon, even if by a little bit they were able to, and now they're back in here. And from here on out, the film kind of just has cooler tones because that's just what indicative of Lisbon is. At least, to me, that's what Lisbon is. It's just cooler lighting tones, and it's because he's the only one that still has at least some sense of what he was, I guess, and is able to break through the dark mold that they kind of put themselves in. I wrote this scene entirely, and I really like how I did it. I think I changed one thing last minute with what happened with Yardarm, but I ended up really liking where it went. I like that first person shot I did earlier. But yeah, it's very. This is where, the film does take a turn. A good little turn for it, because we only got like 8-9 minutes left of like actual footage. And you're like, whoa, Yardarm, you killed your ghost. And then Rekkana's like, yeah, I'm probably gonna do that too. I liked it a lot. This was one of the first scenes that I put I guess this is one of the first environments that I put together. And it all hinged on this part of the scene right here. This Rekkana's talk with her ghost before she kills her. So I built a lot of the cave around that. At least a lot of the cave lighting. Yeah, because I just really wanted to get that right. And I really do like the desperation that comes out in Anna's voice here is really, really good. Love Rekkana's ghost as well. Athena, Ekhteraei, if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry, Athena, if I didn't. Loved Rekkana's ghost.
There! I did it! Are you happy now?
Rekkana has been your ghost.
Yeah, Rekkana is not the same after that. I love the music that we had going on in that part too. And that music is scored and created by Babayuk Bogdan, and I just helped him get the feeling for it. But that's all him. It's on Spotify. I'll put a link down in the description for it as well. But he created 15 entire minutes of music for this short film. I'm really, really happy with that.
Hey, thank you. I know that wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Rekkana, are you alright?
We need to get out of here.
Yeah, from here on out,
Lisbon, I don't want to stay here, please.
Rekkana is not the same. From that point forward, Rekkana is not the same person.
The one where
And she knows it, and she acknowledges it later on when she breaks down in front of Yardarm. But
It's alright.
at least now she feels like,
Making sure we're steering
you know, she's made a
direction.
pretty big choice.
Hey,
And
this is
Yardarm,
the right
there he goes, Yardarm, referencing that this is the right direction.
Let's just get to the gate then.
Something that goes back to his, like, boat mentality, where, you know, without Lisbon, they wouldn't know where they'd end up.
there.
But Yardarm's trying to make that choice for himself, saying, no, this is the right direction, Lisbon,
That they were wrong.
and we need you with us.
How do you plan to do that?
As a team,
This scene took place
come on.
in an entirely different part
Do this.
of the garden map that I made here. That was also very different. It took an entirely different place, but I like where I put it now. That was always a stasis power that happened.
Did not come here for this.
Of course not. Who could have predicted this? But now, with all that's happened, does it matter?
It was
what
always
our
a stasis
mission
thing
was?
that happened.
This is so much more important.
But I never thought it was gonna be Crystal. I had him killing Vex with it, but I like where it ended here. I kind of wanted it to just be focused on these guys. I loved writing this scene. I'm pretty sure I did pull a good bit of it from the lore as well.
You remember
But some of it, especially when it comes to the quotes on the guns and the armor inside the game,
you ducked out of
I think I might have missed one, or I might have missed one or two, or maybe even three. But I tried to include every quote
the whole
that was on the
with bullets.
armor and weapons that you can get in the game from the Garden of Salvation raid.
And suddenly,
So you could, you know,
I hear you screaming.
identify it with what's happening here.
You came screaming back on an
This is Yardarm's little moment.
You were
Trying to tell
the Scion's head.
this little metaphor, which is not a bad metaphor for where they're at now. A lot of what I like about writing this was, like, at least in my understanding of the characters,
I can't forget.
was
You splashed
Lisbon
that interceptor across the ship.
is going against the grain, and I guess in this short film, he is the quote-unquote good guy for this.
You hit the ground behind them.
He really is, but at the same time,
Thing I had ever seen.
he's not right. None of these guys are right. They're all wrong. All three of them are wrong.
You did.
It's just Rekkana and Yardarm happen to be wronger than Lisbon is.
In the last city,
Um,
the Vanguard, the Traveler,
It's insinuated that they want to bring it,
inside that box.
the power back,
Snuck out.
and do something pretty mischievous to the last city, to the Traveler, you know, show them what true power is, And they never deny it. They don't deny it one bit, so of course that puts a little image in Lisbon's head. And then Lisbon himself has the wrong idea as well, but his idea doesn't involve harming people. He's just fears that the dark can only be used for the worst here, which isn't the case. You can use those dark powers for good, which has been shown in the game. You can use this darkness as a tool. You know, it's not just dark is inherently evil. But Lisbon takes that idea and runs with it because he is seeing firsthand the darkness being used by these guys and turning them evil. When really it wasn't the power that turned them evil. The power was given to them as a gift for turning evil. And they kind of turned evil, which if evil is the right term for that, they quote unquote turned evil because the darkness, quote unquote, or the entity of the darkness that uses it spoke to them, just like it spoke to Lisbon. It's why he was convinced to take the power as well, but it doesn't mean he's evil, you know? He has the darkness power, it's just like them, which is something Yardarm make sure to remind Lisbon later on, you know, that he took the deal as well. It does not make you evil just to take those powers, so long as you use them for good, which is something Yardarm and Rekkana just was not planning on doing.
Look at us now. We are outnumbered and outgunned. Why not use these gifts we've been given?
Gifts? You're starting to
Yeah, it's a weird version of the misunderstanding.
Listen to her. We've come this far.
Even though they're not taking the points that they should be taking from each other, they're taking, I guess, enough to know that they aren't on the same side anymore. And it is a sad tale, because either way, Lisbon didn't want to see his friends go, and he didn't want to see the light go either. And you know, he kind of has to make a choice for himself, which is something he doesn't, I guess, do a lot. He kind of makes the choices in the benefit of the team, which is something he doesn't do now. He's kind of making a choice that isn't in benefit of them at all. You know, he has to take a stand, which is what's happening here. He took a stand, something that Rekkana did as well for herself.
Rekkana, please don't.
I've chosen my path. Can you say the same?
If you do this, it can't be undone.
This line right here,
Some choices change you. This is one of them.
ripped straight from the game. I like this as well. A little explosive knife. I intentionally made sure I was gonna use a stasis shuriken, but for future reference, I intentionally made sure that Lisbon wasn't using the darkness because he seems pretty against it. So I made him use a knife.
Always trust me.
Yeah, he also said he'd never leave us. Turns out you can say a lot of things.
I like this little shot I did. I feel like it could have gone a lot smoother than I made it turn out to be.
Thanks for not killing me. You totally seem like you got this under control. Are they still out there?
I also really love Piri's voice actress. She did a really good job, in my opinion. Piri was one of the characters I knew what I wanted from them early on. It was just a little hard finding the right voice for it, and I'm pretty sure that's Hannah Zivkovich, if I remember correctly. That's gonna feel terrible. I'm gonna feel terrible if it's not Hannah.
I guess not.
But she does an amazing job.
Well, he doesn't have
And here's Rekkana's little breakdown.
Damn it, Yardarm, I shouldn't have shot her.
Hey.
Which Anna plays
Need your help here, all right?
great.
He's still the captain. He knows
And
we're making our way to the
there's
gate.
Yardarm's arc
What does he do
ending
about
right
it?
here.
Does he get ahead of us to block us? Or does he hit us from behind when we're not looking? Rekkana, we could really use that brain of yours right now.
This isn't it.
What?
This isn't how the story is supposed to end.
It's not over yet. We'll win this. Listen, Lisbon's been holding back. He's afraid to use his new powers. So, in a straight up fight against him, the advantage is ours, in numbers and strength.
No.
No? What do you mean, no?
Lisbon isn't afraid. He's angry. desperate. He feels betrayed.
He feels betrayed. He turned on us.
Yep, I like the duality of it. Which is again something I tried to play with lighting because we're in the exact same spot as Yardarm.
Did we do the right thing?
Ghost scene just a little further out now and next to the portal.
And we're gonna return to the city and
With the cooler tones coming from the nighttime scene in the garden, but
Listen,
the
you have to fight Lisbon.
red that's kind of
Avoid a showdown.
symbolic of the dark that we saw in the cave, and it's scattered around here. Anything that could turn red, I kind of turned red. To kind of make it seem like this is, you know, red and blue clashing colors, so it really is a clash of these friends.
How it ends.
Rekkana,
The same as
unfortunately, having to admit that she doesn't know, which is a big thing for her. But she, like I said, she just doesn't know. Yeah, she
there are
says
too many possible
she believes
threads
there's no
to our
use,
paths.
which is something she never does, and it's kind of culminated to that. It's not a happy arc; it's just a sad one. And
We'll go where the wind blows us.
there's Yardarm finishing his little ship.
Instead, we'll chart our own course. We'll write our story as we live it.
Exactly.
I know it needs to be done, and I'm the one to do it.
Yardarm,
We have to get to that gate.
I'm not letting you do this alone.
Loved Anna and Brandon's performance there.
I didn't want this.
Lily's really good as Lisbon too.
They should have. But you taught them.
Lily and Piri work together really well.
You accepted.
And then the sudden ending here is really
For
nice.
you.
At least I think it's really nice as well.
It offered me what I most desired, but in the end, it could never give me that. It could only take it away.
And there it is. What is, in case you didn't stay to the end of the credits, Lisbon does win that fight. Yardarm is dead to the grenade, and they don't have ghosts; they can't be resurrected. And Rekkana dies to divinity, which is something Senior Sybil guessed, which is something Lisbon didn't want to happen. He even says it. He was like, "The Order thinks she'll die today. Make sure the Vex won't do it," which the Darkness kept their promise. The Vex wasn't the cause of Rekkana's death. They didn't cause her any harm. It was Lisbon. It was Hannah Zivkovich as Piri. I knew it. Hannah did a really, really good job. Hannah did a great job as Piri. Not to say Apryl May Reagan didn't do great as Senior Sybil. I really liked how she did Senior Sybil. Tim Nelson and Lucas Moreira were cutscene as well with Zavala and Cade 6. Tim was Cade 6 and Lucas was Zavala. And they both did really well, but I feel like it slowed it down a little and I had to cut it. And they totally understood, and I'm so happy they did. And love everyone on this list right here. Mochi is in a bunch of the videos on the channel. Lacey is my absolute best friend in the world. Darren's a really, really close friend too. He's been supportive the whole time. So is Joel. Wyatt's been super supportive. Trevel. Brooks is my Xbox friend. Lisbon 13 will return. Lisbon 13 will return. Which is just a little hint of what's to come afterwards. When it comes to what's next, I guess, for the Kentarch 3, because I don't want to just be a one and done thing, and there'll be more news about it later on, but that's it. That's the directed commentary. I know there was so much more I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure I'll talk about more stuff about the Kentarch 3 in the future. But that's about all I really wanted to talk about here. I do want to say again, thanks to Bungie and them for creating such a really, I guess, interesting and intricate world that a story like that could be told. And I want to say I'm not done. In April, if you're watching this to the end, thanks for watching. And I want to let you know that in April, it's going to be a a big announcement on the next project that we're going to be doing. It's not going to take 2.5 years like this one, but it is much bigger than this one. But I did spend a lot of our time on the Kentarch 3 just learning animation, and now that I've learned a good bit, I think I'm in a spot where I can take on this bigger project. But I do want to thank you guys for watching. Share the Kentarch 3 with your friends. Let them know it exists. I can't wait to show you what's coming next. It's really big. It's a lot bigger than this, and it's really, really special to me. Again, thank you guys for watching. I hope I can see you the next time I do one. Goodbye.